This singer brought the rhythms and the sounds of the Caribbean to the United States, and then became an unparalleled civil rights activist. A little bit of a history lesson for you now. President Kennedy named him as cultural advisor to the Peace Corps, and he's now serving as a Goodwill ambassador for UNICEF.
Matilda, 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 she take me money and run Venezuela. Once again, Matilda, 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 she take me money and run Venezuela. $500 friends I lost. Come on in and sell me cat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished delegates, fellow musicians, artists, fellow Goodwill ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, it is truly a great pleasure for me to be here with you this evening, celebrating here in the General Assembly yet another milestone in the history of the General Assembly. It has been a truly remarkable job that the United Nations has done through all these years. There are many in the world who seek to detract from what we do, many in the world who try to demonize us as unnecessary and filling space that needs no filling. But if you speak to millions of people around the world who are starving, who are dying, who are afflicted by diseases yet uncurable, you would understand that those who would suggest that we serve no purpose only serve to mislead you, only serve to blind you to a greater and a more significant truth. I became aware of this august organization through a mentor by the name of Eleanor Roosevelt. This American woman was a member of the United Nations, and she was one of the major forces in the constructing of the International and Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Through her vision and others who worked with her, the United Nations became a body that not only endured, but continues to do remarkable work for people everywhere. Nowhere is that work more exemplified than the work that is done by the men and women whom we celebrate here tonight. United Nations peacekeepers. These men and women will never be truly appreciated and understood unless we had the communication mechanisms of the world constantly revealing what it is that they do. If you have never been in a place where genocide is being practiced, where people are being slaughtered, and in these circumstances, the United Nations is required to step in, not governed by the articles of war, but governed by articles of peace. And sometimes those articles leave these men and women in great jeopardy. I first came to appreciate them when, as a Goodwill ambassador for UNICEF, I was sent to Rwanda. There, with millions, with hundreds of thousands, close to 1 million people who had been driven from their land and their homes, many slaughtered. Until you see this and experience it, one would never appreciate what these soldiers of peace really bring to the world. Unfortunately, Rwanda was not one of our better examples. But I do know that General Romeo Dallaire, who was the commanding officer of those troops, how much his heart bled for what he saw and as a peacekeeper was permitted to do very little about. He left that place and went on to serve peace as a member of the United Nations Children's Fund. He and a young man by the name of Nigel Fisher, who was the head of UNICEF Canada, were my section chiefs and people who guided me in the work that I had to do in Rwanda. Of all the things that I saw, nothing meant more to me than to see those blue helmets standing at the ready to help us as we went around retrieving children. That has been a part of my life and my work, whether it's been with Dr. Martin Luther King and the struggles here in America for civil rights and our desire to put an end to violence, or whether it was with Nelson Mandela and how he led his nation and others in the world to look upon peace and harmony and love from the human heart as the major force by which we should be governed. To work with men and women like these, to work with the Goodwill ambassadors, to work with the United Nations peacekeepers has been a great reward to a life that has experienced 82 years of human behavior. Jim Grant was the one who recruited me to come serve in the UN, and since that time I've never had a dull day. I'm pleased that I was asked to serve here tonight as just another voice to lend support and to lend approval to what it is we try to do. And I'd like to extend a special thanks to all the wonderful artists who have come here to perform for you. Some of you may ask, why am I not singing? And I will have to tell you that unfortunately, that is no longer in my menu. Not that I wouldn't like to, but certain things have happened to me in a lot of the work that I've done and has caused me to come into a place of vocal disrepair. So I stepped away rather than try to stand on a platform and look silly. But just so that the evening would not be a total loss, let me end by saying, Deo, Deo, daylight come and we want home. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me now fulfill a task that gives me enormous pleasure. I've worked with him in the field, in UNICEF, because he's a fellow Goodwill ambassador. I'm not quite sure why he's constantly being called a prodigy. I mean, he is 90 years old. He's a very gifted musician, and it's been a long time since he's been a prodigy. But he serves not only the world of culture admirably, but he serves the cause for which we all work here at the United Nations, and in particular in UNICEF, by constantly being on call and going to the places where he's most wanted and needed. And such a place is where we are tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present Lang Lang.